Hi, Laura here. Just continuing on my discussion on the Four Agreements by Don Miquel Ruiz. Awesome book, changed my life, and I felt compelled to share it with the world. So I'll just get right into it. So basically, we are at the point of giving you solutions on, not me, but the book, giving you solutions on how to break your old habits, breaking those old habits so you can bring new habits in. So there's three masteries that lead people to this kind of freedom. The first is mastery of awareness. This is to be aware of who we really are with all the possibilities. The second is the mastery of transformation. How to change, how to be free of domestication. Domestication meaning, how we, the world kind of makes us who we are. Well, we let the world make us who we are. The third is the mastery of intent. And this is the part of life that makes transformation of energy possible. It is the one living being that seamlessly encompasses all energy, or what we call God, or whatever you call it. Intent is life itself. It is unconditional love. The mastery of intent is therefore the mastery of love. Through the Toltec path to freedom, we find that they have an entire map for breaking free of domestication. They compare the judge, the victim, and the belief system to a parasite that invades the human mind. From the Toltec point of view, all humans who are domesticated are sick. They are sick because there is a parasite that controls their mind and controls the brain. The food for that parasite is the negative emotions that come from fear. So we're feeding that parasite. So the judge, the victim, and the belief system are basically equal to the parasite in our head. The Toltecs believe that the parasite, the judge, the victim, and the belief system has control of your mind. It controls your personal dream. It survives on the emotions that come from fear and thrives on drama and suffering. The freedom we seek is to use our own mind and body to live our own life instead of the life of the belief system. So when we discover that the mind is controlled by the judge and the victim, which is that awareness piece, and the real us is in the corner, we have just two choices. One choice is to keep living that way, to surrender to the judge and the victim, and to keep living the dream of the planet. The second choice is to do what we do as children. When parents try to domesticate us, we can rebel and say no. We can declare a war against the parasite, a war against the judge and victim, a war from our independence, a war from the right to use our own mind and our own brain. And that's going towards freedom. Choosing this path gives us, at very least, the dignity of rebellion, and ensures that we will not be helpless victim of all of our own whimsical emotions or the poisonous emotions of others. At best, being a warrior gives us the opportunity to transcend the dream of the planet and to change our personal dream to the dream what we call heaven. Just like hell, heaven is a place that exists within our mind. It is a place of joy, a place where we are happy, where we are free to love and to be who we really are. We can reach heaven while we are alive. We don't have to wait until we die. God is always present, and the kingdom of heaven is everywhere. But first, we need to have the eyes and the ears to see and hear that truth. We need to be free of that parasite. The parasite can be compared to a monster with 1,000 heads. Every head of the parasite is one of the fears that we have. If we want to be free, we have to destroy the parasite. Face each of our fears one by one. We don't have to do it all at once, one by one. Every time we face one of our fears, we are a little more free. A second approach is to stop feeding the parasite. If we don't give that parasite food, we kill the parasite by starvation. And if you remember, what that food is the negative emotions. To do this, we have to gain control of our emotions. We have to refrain from fueling the emotions that come from fear. This is very difficult to do because the judge and the victim control our mind. A third solution is called the initiation of the dead. This is a symbolic death which kills the parasite without harming our physical body. When we die, symbolically, the parasite has to die. This is the fastest way to do it. And it's called facing the angel of death. I'm not really going to go into specifics about that one. It's a little heavy. But basically, what that is, the angel of death teaches us to live in the present. So that's kind of the tool that does, which if we're living in the present, then we're not going and thinking about our past or thinking about the future. So we're going to talk now about the art of transformation, the dream of the second intention. We have learned that the dream you are living now is the result of the outside dream hooking your attention and feeding you all of your beliefs. The process of domestication can be called the dream of the first attention because it's how your attention was used for the first time to create the first dream of your life. So domestication equals the dream of the first intention. One way to change your beliefs is to focus your attention on all those agreements and beliefs and change the agreements with yourself. In doing this, you are using your attention for the second time, thus creating the dream of the second intention or the new dream. The difference is that you are no longer innocent. When you were a child, this was not true. You didn't have a choice. You can choose to believe in anything that includes believing in yourself. The first step is to become aware of that fog that is in our mind. You must become aware that you are dreaming all the time. Only with awareness do you have the possibility of transforming your dream. That's just the first step. You have to become aware. If you have the awareness that the whole drama of your life is the result of what you believe, and what you believe is not real, then you can begin to change it. However, to really change your beliefs, you need to focus your attention on what it is you want to change. You have to know which agreements you want to change before you can change them. For example, in my life, I've overcome a lot of my fears in the past couple of years since I've been, doing this self-improvement work. But one of the things I always have a fear of, or I talk down on myself, is that I cannot write, that I am a terrible writer. I can't do it. But what I have to do is, and I'm working on it, believe me, I'm not ready to write a book or anything, but I have to, self-talk to myself. And instead of saying I'm a terrible writer, I say I'm, the best writer in the world. I can write a book, I'll write a book. I'm going to write a book, so you just have to keep saying these things to yourself to change those old agreements. So the next step is to develop awareness of all the self-limiting, fear-based beliefs that make you unhappy. So you have to go in and take a look at yourself and figure out what it is, what fears and thoughts and habits and things that are making you unhappy. You have to take an inventory of all that you believe, all of your agreements. Through this process, you can begin this transformation. The Toltecs called this the art of transformation, and it's a whole mastery. You achieve the mastery of transformation by changing the fear-based agreements that make you suffer, and the reprogramming of your own mind in your own way. Like I was talking about, from going from thinking I'm a terrible writer to I'm the best writer. One of the ways to do this is to explore and adapt alternative beliefs, such as the 4 agreements, which is really helping me through this process. The decision to adopt the 4 agreements is a declaration of war to regain your freedom from the parasite. The 4 agreements offer the possibility of ending that emotional pain that we have inside of us, which can open the door for you to enjoy your life and to begin a new dream. The 4 agreements were created to assist us in the art of transformation, to help us break the limiting agreements, gain more personal power, and become stronger. The stronger you get, the more agreements you can break, until the moment comes when you make it to your core of all of those agreements. Practicing the 4 agreements is a big act of power. I love this. Breaking the spell of black magic in your mind requires great personal power. Every time you break an agreement, you gain extra power. So every time you break an agreement, you get stronger, and it makes it easier to face the rest of your fears. You want to start by breaking those agreements that are very small. You don't want to jump out of an airplane tomorrow, but maybe, go to an indoor, jumping place and do some crazy stuff there where it's a little safe, but you're still going to be, making yourself stronger. Those smaller agreements as those smaller agreements are broken, your personal power will increase until you reach a point when you can finally face those big fears. And believe me, I'm a testament to it. I mean, I'm far from being done, but I really do feel that I'm going to be able to do anything, and that all things are possible. For every agreement you break that makes you suffer, you will need to replace it with a new agreement that makes you happy. So that's kind of like what I was saying, that, if you have to make sure to fill that space. Once you get rid of that agreement, you have to fill the space with the new agreement, or that old agreement will be right back in there. If you occupy the same space with a new agreement, then the old agreement is gone forever and ever and ever. It'll never come back. And in its place is the new agreement. There are many strong beliefs in the mind that you can make this process. There are many strong beliefs in the mind that can make this process look hopeless. This is why you need to do a step-by-step process and be patient with yourself. Progress, not perfection. Because this is a slow process. You cannot expect to break the domestication in one day. Breaking agreements is very difficult because we put the power of the word into every agreement we have made. We need the same amount of power to change an agreement. Our agreements are actually like a strong addiction. We are addicted to being the way that we are. We are addicted to anger, jealousy, and self-pity. We are addicted to the beliefs that tell us I'm not good enough. All of these old agreements which rule our dream of life are the result of repeating them over and over again. Therefore, to adopt the 4 agreements, you need to put repetition in action. Repetition makes the master. So you have to keep saying these things to you and overcoming that thought, that old agreement, until it's gone. Okay, it might take a little while, but it's possible. They say 90 days it takes to break a habit. And I actually will hopefully be talking about a process that I learned from one of my mentors. It's called TBar, and his name is Ian Pruckner, and he wrote a book called Byproduct, where he talks about a process called TBar, that your thoughts turn into your beliefs. Your beliefs will give you your actions or inactions, and then your actions give you your results. So that's what TBar stands for. And it's just a process that you can use to overcome these old agreements. So I'll maybe talk about that in another video next time. So the discipline of the warrior. Every day we awake with a certain amount of mental, emotional, and physical energy that we spend throughout the day. If we allow our emotions to deplete our energy, we have no energy to change our lives or to give to others. The way we see the world will depend upon the emotions you are feeling. When you are angry, everything around you is wrong. Nothing is right. You blame everything. When you are sad, everything around you is sad and makes you cry. Perhaps you feel vulnerable and have a need to protect yourself because you don't know in what moment someone will attack you. You do not trust anything or anyone around you. This is because you see the world with the eyes of fear. Imagine that the human mind is the same as your skin, okay? You touch your skin and it's healthy and it feels wonderful, right? Now imagine you have an injury and the skin gets cut and infected. If you touch that infected skin, it's going to hurt, right? So you try to cover and protect your skin. You will not enjoy being touched because it hurts. Now imagine that all humans have this skin disease. Nobody can touch each other because it's going to hurt. Everybody has wounds all over their skin, so the infection is seen as normal. The pain is also considered normal. We believe we're supposed to be that way. Can you imagine how we would behave with each other if all humans in the world had this skin disease? Of course, we would hardly ever hug each other because it would be too painful. Well, the human mind is exactly like this description of infected skin. Every human has an emotional body completely covered with infected wounds. Each wound is infected with emotional poison. The poison of all the emotions that make us suffer, such as hate, anger, envy, sadness, and an action of injustice opens a wound in our mind and we react with emotional poison because of the concepts and beliefs we have about injustice and what is fair. The mind is so wounded and full of poison by the process of domestication that everyone describes the wounded mind as normal. This is considered normal, but I can tell you it's not normal. We have a dysfunctional dream of the planet, and humans are mentally sick with a disease called fear. The symptoms of the disease are all the emotions that make humans suffer: anger, hate, sadness, envy, betrayal. When the fear is too great, the reasoning in mind begins to fail, and we call this mental illness, right? Everybody has mental illness, but there's hope. If we can see our state of mind as a disease, we find that there's a cure. We don't have to suffer any longer. First, we need the truth to open the emotional wounds, take the poison out, and heal the wounds completely. We must forgive those we feel have wronged us, not because they deserve to be forgiven, because we love ourselves so much that we don't want to keep paying for the injustice. Forgiveness is the only way to heal. We can choose to forgive because we feel compassion for ourselves. We can let go of the resentment and declare, that's enough. I will no longer be the big judge that goes against myself. I will no longer beat myself up and abuse myself. I will no longer be a victim. First, we need to forgive our parents, our brothers, our sisters, our friends, and God, whatever that is for you. Once you forgive God, you can fully forgive yourself. Once you forgive yourself, self-rejection in your mind is over. Self-acceptance begins. And the self-love will grow so strong that you finally accept yourself just the way you are. That's the beginning of the free human. Forgiveness is key. You will know you have forgiven someone when you see them and you no longer have an emotional reaction. When someone can touch what used to be a wound and it no longer hurts you, then you know you have truly forgiven. The truth is like a scalpel. The truth is painful because it opens up all those wounds which are covered by lies so that we can be healed. These lies are what we call the denial system. It's a good thing we have a denial system because it allows us to cover our wounds and still function. But once we no longer have any wounds or poison, we don't need to lie anymore. We don't need a denial system because a healthy mind, like healthy skin, can be touched without hurting. The problem with most people is that they lose control of these emotions. It is the emotions that control the behavior of the humans, not the human who controls the emotions. When we lose control, we say things we didn't want to say, and we do things that we don't want to do. That is why it's important to be impeccable with our word, which is the first agreement, by the way, if you remember, and to become a spiritual warrior. We must learn to control the emotions so we have enough personal power to change our fear-based agreements, escape from hell, and create our own personal heaven. How are we to become the warrior? There are certain characteristics of the warrior that are nearly the same around the world. The warrior has awareness. 1, we are aware that we are at war, and the war in our mind requires discipline. Not the discipline of a soldier, but the discipline of a warrior. Not the discipline from the outside to tell us what to do and what not to do, but the discipline to be ourselves no matter what. 2nd, the warrior has control. Not control over any other human, but control over one's emotions, control over oneself. The big difference between a warrior and a victim is that the victim represses and the warrior refrains. Victims repress because they are afraid to show the emotions, afraid to say what they want to say. To refrain is to hold the emotions and to express them at the right moment, not before, not later. That is why warriors are impeccable. They have complete control over their emotions and therefore over their own behavior. So to recap the 3 characteristics of the warrior: awareness, 1, discipline, 2, and control, 3. The new dream. We're almost to the end. This book is amazing. Heaven on earth. This is the goal. I want you to forget everything you have learned in your whole life. This is the beginning of a new understanding, a new dream. The dream you are living is your creation. You have the power to create hell, and you have the power to create heaven. Just use your imagination, and a tremendous thing will happen. Imagine that you have the ability to see the world with different eyes. Using your imagination and your new eyes of perception, I want you to see yourself living a new life, a new dream, a life where you don't need to justify your existence, and you are free to be who you really are. Imagine that you have permission to be happy and to really enjoy your life. Imagine your life without fear of expressing your dreams. Imagine living your life without the fear of being judged by others. Imagine living your life without judging others. Imagine living without the fear of loving and not being loved. Imagine living your life without being afraid to take a risk and to explore life. All of these things are all possible. All things are possible. Only love has the ability to put you in a state of bliss. It is possible because others have done it, and they are no different than you and me. They live in a bliss because they have changed their agreements and are dreaming a different dream. I'm on my way. The world is very beautiful and very wonderful. Life can be very easy when love is your way of life. You can be loving all the time. This is your choice. You can see everything with the eyes of love. When you live this way, there's no longer a fog in your mind. The Matote has gone on permanent vacation. Matote is that monster of 1,000, things. The way of life is possible, and it's in your hand. This way of life is possible, and it's in your hands, in my hands. Moses called it the promised land. Buddha called it nirvana. Jesus called it heaven. And the Toltecs call it a new dream. Unfortunately, our identity is mixed with the dream of the planet. You feel the presence of the parasite and believe it is you. This makes it difficult to let go, to release the parasite and create the space to experience love. Suffering makes you feel safe because you know it so well. But there is really no reason to suffer. The only reason you suffer is because you choose to suffer. The only reason you are happy is because you choose to be happy. Happiness is a choice, and so is suffering. Maybe we cannot escape from the destiny of being a human, but we have a choice to suffer our destiny or to enjoy our destiny, to suffer or to love and be happy, to live in hell or to live in heaven, to live in the old dream or to live in the new dream. I choose the new dream. What do you choose?